Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Pensacola Wants to Know, folks. I'm Vernon Watson, and thank you for tuning in. And I have a very special guest with me today. That is Reverend James T. Golden. Reverend Golden, welcome to Pensacola Wants to Know, and welcome to Pensacola, Florida.
Thank you so very much for the opportunity to come and be a part of this moment in the life of this community. And I certainly want to thank you for the opportunity that you've given the community to hear from my purpose being here with Allen Chapel, African Methodist Episcopal Church, whose pastor is the Reverend Darrell Hooks. We have come to be a part of a workshop that will help us have a better understanding of faith-focused advocacy. We are here in conjunction with a revival that he is having at the church also for these 3 nights, the 24th, 25th, and 26th of March, that is designed to provide people an opportunity in these times when things seem so desolate and so disconsolate, that there is hope.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Let the audience know a little bit about who you are and where you here at Pensacola. So where you're from, and a little bit about the background of Reverend James T. Golden.
I live in Bradenton, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I am a retired itinerant minister of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. I am a co-founder of an organization called Pastors for Florida Children. Mm-hmm. And that is how Reverend Hooks met me. We sponsor a prayer breakfast in Tallahassee at the beginning of every legislative session. And the prayer breakfast that we sponsored was where he was in attendance and where he thought it not robbery to come and ask me to be a part of this moment in the life of the church in Pensacola. I've had an opportunity to meet several community, political leaders, attorneys in the community, and of course yourself, mm-hmm. All of which are parts of what we're trying to do in terms of this faith-focused advocacy. So this has really turned out to be a very fruitful opportunity.
Very good. Tell us a little bit about your organization that you co-founded called Pastors for Florida Children.
Yes,
and tell a little bit about what the organization is and why did you started it?
Well, first off, I'm the son of an educator, 2 educators, both mm-hmm. my father and my mother were in public education down in Putnam and in Volusia County. And what we are doing here is advocating for fully funded quality public education in the state of Florida. Mm-hmm. That's our overall goal. And we have been blessed to be able to network with other organizations that have an impact on the quality and or the funding of education. We are involved with the League of Women Voters. We're involved with the NAACP. We're involved with the Florida Education Association. All of these are entities that support and are involved with us in the work that we're trying to do to move the legislature, to advocate to the legislature about public education, which is under assault, not only in the state of Florida, but all over the country.
Right. Mm-hmm. So how's that project going?
Well, number one, we found it's not a project, it's a process.
Right.
Because every step that we take forward, or every 2 steps that we take forward, there is opposition.
Right.
to push us back one step. And so the process of advocacy is trying to develop a cadence that allows for progress that will be permanent, that will allow for progress that will make a difference, not just temporarily or short term, but over the long term. And at the same time, not have expectations that the opposition that we meet is going to change just because we are in opposition to what they're doing. What we are dealing with now is really trying to develop those kinds of responses to the opposition that we face that will be long-term and that will make a difference not just over a 4-year period or a 2-year period, which is a legislative cycle, but you got to think it's a 12-year period from the 1st grade through the 12th grade.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Now, your goal is, and I want you to explain this as well, because you talked about your faith for focused advocacy. You talk about advocacy, right?
Yes, sir.
And so you were, I have not obeyed the rules here to turn off my phone, but anyway, there's a difference between advocacy and faith focus. Tell us the difference here.
Well, first off, advocacy itself is a process. It's not just resisting something, not just resenting something, not just rebelling against something, because you can do all of those things and nothing will change. And so advocacy simply means that we are at a point, and I guess the most imagery that I can bring to this process right now would be sumo wrestling, which is a wrestling match that the Japanese have perfected between two large entities. And it's not as if you get the theatric wrestling that you get on our TVs here, but it's just two massive objects that with very little movement are using all of their strength and all of their power to overcome the other side.
Right.
And so I say that faith-focused advocacy is one of the sumo wrestlers. And the other sumo wrestler is people who have no faith, or people who operate based on facts, or people who operate based on money, or people who operate based on power. And that is where faith-focused advocacy comes in, because when you run up against forces like that, it is only your faith that will make the difference in the outcome. And I believe that with all of my heart, that where we are is up against, as is said in the scripture, spiritual wickedness. We are involved in spiritual warfare. And in order to overcome that, we won't overcome that with money. You won't overcome that just because you're smart, because there are other people just as smart with ideas that's just the opposite of yours. You won't overcome that with anything but faith.
Right.
Faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. And so it won't be limited by a congressional term of 2 years or a presidential term of 4 years. It is not limited. It is something that simply you believe in enough to keep fighting for. It's not something that you just resist or resent or rebel against. It is something that you feel strongly enough about that you're going to fight for it.
So obviously that has been your mantra, if you will, because in your background, I understand that you're an attorney in your own right.
Yes, sir.
You was an elected official. I understand that you served on the school board as well as the city council in Brayton, what is it, Manatee County?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
It is.
Okay.
And that's why this concept of advocacy is so strong with me, because I find no difference between sitting on the school board or sitting on the city council and the opposition that I meet in both of those arenas, or in a courtroom and the opposition that I meet from the other side, and even sometimes from the court itself. And sometimes all you really have is the faith that you're on the right side, that you're doing the right thing, that you are able to bring about a right result. And so that has guided me all of the days that I have had a professional life.
Yeah. Now I guess that's what leads to bring you to Pensacola, since I know you are a retired pastor, And so you was invited here by Reverend Hooks.
Darrell Hooks,
Hooks,
the
yeah,
pastor
that-
of
Allen Chapel. Yeah, Allen Chapel.
AME Church.
You're right.
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that
Well,
invitation.
he was in attendance at the prayer breakfast that we had, where the bishop of the 11th Episcopal District, Reverend Zanders, Marvin Clyde Zanders, was our keynote speaker. And he, being an AME minister himself, was there to support his bishop. But he stayed for the workshops that we have when we make appearances before the legislature. We have an agenda. We are focused on education, but we are also focused on reproductive rights. We are also focused on funding for, there are people who they're against the, Floridians against the death penalty. The Florida Education Association has an agenda. The Florida PTA has an agenda. All of these entities have agendas that they are advocating for. One of the big problems that we have found is that we are all siloed. You're over here advocating for your agenda, and I'm over here advocating for my agenda, and both of our agendas are designed to accomplish the same thing, the betterment of our communities. We need to get together. And so I talk about how we overcome the things that keep us separated and divided, not just from the people who don't want us to get together, but from the fact that we don't know how to get together.
Right.
And so I draw my material from the scriptures, and particularly from the gospel, in terms of what would Jesus have us do at this time.
Now, one of the things that's one of the purposes why you're here in Pensacola tonight, I understand it, you're going to be doing a workshop.
Yes, sir.
Regarding that.
Yes, the revival is for 3 nights, and we are going to precede that revival message with 3 workshop nights. What faith-focused advocacy is not, as I've already shared with you, it's not just that we resent, it's not just that we rebel, it's not just that we don't like what's going on. It is that we have made a commitment that we're going to try to develop an agenda that allows us to change what's going on. And so basically, I was asked to come here, and we've invited other ministers, we've invited laity, we've invited other organizations. The nights that we have been here, we've been blessed to have representatives from the political community. We've had blessed to have representatives from community organizations that are involved. And since I've been here, I have even received the invitation to come and participate in this interview. So a lot of this is spontaneous, a lot of this is automatic, and it's coming about in an evolving and a revolving passion.
Okay, all right. Now, for the folks that didn't have an opportunity may not have an opportunity to hear you tonight, what will you tell them?
Well, what I'm hoping is that this interview will be a part of the presentation from the station after I'm gone. So that's the first thing. I'm looking at that. But for those who are not able to be here and present tonight, and who may not have access to this particular interview, other than just this part, I would simply say, be not weary in well-doing, for after due season you shall reap.
Right. Okay. Now, I know you're just going to be here for another couple of days.
Yes, sir.
And when you leave, and people want to know a little more about your word and your works,
yes, sir.
How can they get a hold of you?
Okay. I'm Reverend James T. Golden. I hope I get this right because my grandchildren are watching. My email address is JAMETHEGOLD@AOL.com.
Okay.
And I think that's the quickest and easiest way to reach out to me.
To email
I
you.
also have an old-fashioned post office box.
Oh, really?
Post office box 299, Bradenton, Florida 34206. Those are the two best ways for you to reach out and to be in touch with me.
You know, I'm laughing at you because I'm laughing with you, not laughing. I'm laughing with you saying because you got this old-fashioned post office, which nobody hardly use snail mail anymore, but that's good. But when you told me your email address, tell me my email address again. It's James.
And then there's no S.
Yeah, okay.
It's Jame
Mm-hmm.
THE
THE
GOLD
GOLD. Mm-hmm.
at AOL.com.
And that's why I was not many. Did you realize that AOL is probably one of the first folks in the email business?
I've heard so many times from my grandchildren and from many others that people don't even use AOL anymore. So, but you know, that brings me to an interesting point.
Yeah.
That if it were not for AOL,
Mm-hmm.
we would never have gotten to Twitter.
Yeah.
And if it were not for Twitter, we would never have gotten to X, which is where we are. And so the purpose of advocacy
Absolutely.
is to keep us moving
Point
forward.
well taken. Yeah, go ahead.
And it is designed to keep us moving forward. And I make fun of the fact that I have AOL, but I am also aware enough to know that if I really, really want to keep up, I need to pay some attention to what my grandchildren tell me.
Right. And for these young people, because they don't think about nothing about phones or about mail or email, but you're on social. I know that you're on social media. You got
Yes,
a
sir.
face. Whether you did it, your grandchildren did it, but you got a Facebook page.
Yes, I do.
Yes. So look him up on Facebook. Okay.
Now, what I don't have is Instagram.
Yeah.
And I don't have all of the newer things.
Yeah.
But if you really want to reach out to me, just say, please reach out to me and let me know how to reach you.
Yeah,
And I will.
and it's easy, folks, because just the first day I met this gentleman, and I didn't know much about him, but we got computers at our hand, we got phones at our hand. Just Google him, and when you Google James T. Golden, he
Yes.
comes up, and and that's why he knew about your nickname was Jimmy.
Yeah, from the
No, he didn't know that, but he did know you was from what part of
Daytona Beach, Florida.
Yeah, where you from?
And I'm not just Jimmy. I'm Jimmy Golden.
Jimmy Golden.
That's how we did it in Daytona Beach.
Jimmy Golden.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Well, Jimmy Golden, you here in Pensacola, okay, and this is Gulf Coast, and what else do you want the folks here to know about Jimmy Golden, if you will?
That that you can leave Bradenton, Florida, coming to serve one congregation in the midst of their revival.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have faith, your coming to that place will not be in vain.
Yeah.
That if you have faith,
Mm-hmm.
you will meet the wonderful people that I have met since I have come here that are not a part of the ambit of Allen Chapel AME Church.
Right.
And you might just wind up being in an interview on WBQP TV.
Yeah.
Because I certainly did not leave Bradenton thinking that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's why I so strongly believe in faith-focused advocacy. Because I'm absolutely positive that were I here for any other reason, this would not have happened.
Absolutely. All righty, then we got only just a few more minutes, but I do agree with you about the faith-focused advocacy, and in today's time, we need that more than ever. Okay.
Yes, sir. I think that it must be said from a scriptural standpoint. As Martin Luther King said, hate can't drive out hate. And I believe that it was Shakespeare who said that those whom the gods would destroy, they first make angry. And so where I hope to be in advocating for a faith-focused type of advocacy is in the minds and spirits of people who do not want the wicked to perish, but as God has said in his word, for them to be transformed. And I, for one, believe that before I stop believing in the equality of everyone, the present political climate will be a distant memory.
Yeah.
Before we stop trying to treat everybody right, the present spirit of divisiveness and this present environment of hatred will be a distant memory. I believe that the advocacy that I am proposing will bring us to what King described as to the mountaintop. And he's looked over to the other side, and he has seen the promised land. We're not there yet. And we may get there 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards,
right.
But we're going to get there.
All right.
And I'm hoping and prayerful that this work that we're doing here in Allen Chapel, Pensacola, will spread from Pensacola to Pirine.
Right. Okay.
And that we will see in Florida soon, sooner than later, the impact of this faith-focused advocacy and how it can change lives for all of us, not just Democrat lives, not just Republican lives, not just political lives, not just educational lives, but it can make a difference for all of us in all of our lives.
All right. Well, Reverend Golden, thank you so much
Yes, sir.
for this interview. I wish you much success in your workshop tonight and in the next couple of days, and we'll hopefully see you again. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Pensacola, thank you for tuning in to Pensacola Wants to Know, and we'll see you again on another edition of Pensacola Wants to Know. Have a great day.